That quiet woman always worked late, often after he had left the office. But the facts were irrefutable. Expensive supplies were missing, specialized cleaning products that only the night crew had access to. The private investigator he had hired weeks ago had finally delivered his preliminary report. Security cameras showed suspicious movements, silhouettes carrying boxes after hours. Mr. Tan felt as if his heart had been ripped out. How could the person he trusted most, the only employee who knew the most private corners of his office, betray him this way? That night, as mid-m, Devi finished her cleaning routine, Mr. Tan R. For years, he had been generous with his employees, paying fair wages, offering bonuses on special occasions. Why would Neb and Devi do such a thing? Why would she risk everything for a few cleaning products? When MDM, Devi finished and headed towards the lift, Mr. Tan made a decision that would change everything. He wouldn't call the police. He wouldn't confront the woman immediately. He needed to understand why. He needed to know what had led her to become a thief. Silently, Mr. Tan followed MDM, Devi to the car park. From his black Mercedes, he maintained a prudent distance as the old SBS transit bus pulled away through the rain-slicked city streets. His heart pounded with a mixture of anger and disappointment he had never experienced before. This woman had violated. The bus made several stops before MDM. Devi alighted in a neighborhood Mr. Tan had never visited. It was an area where the streets were unpaved and uneven, where houses seemed cobbled together from different materials, where poverty hung heavy in the air. Mr. Tan continued to keep his distance, his Mercedes looking completely out of place in the surroundings. MDM. Devi walked for another 20 minutes, carrying that bag filled with the stolen products. Mr. Tan followed on foot, keeping to the shadows, feeling his anger grow with each step. Why did she need so much disinfectant? Did she have a parallel business selling cleaning products? The idea that he had been inadvertently financing a criminal operation turned his stomach. Finally, MDM. Devi stopped in front. They were children's vu. But then a child's broken voice pierced the night like a dagger. Mama, will Papa ever come back? Will he come to help us, like he promised before he went to heaven? The silence that followed was more devastating than any scream. Mr. Tan understood at that. Mr. Tan remained motionless for several minutes, processing the devastating reality he had just discovered. His legs trembled as he silently moved away from the window, his mind struggling to comprehend how he had been so blind to the suffering of one of his most dedicated employees. He returned to his Mercedes with a broken heart, but he couldn't start the engine. His hands trembled so much that he couldn't insert the key. The child's words kept echoing in his head like a painful refrain. Papa will come back someday. The innocence of that question, the desperate hope in that child's voice, had struck him harder than any boozin. He sat there, watching that dilapidated shophouse unit where a single mother struggled to keep her 3 children alive. Through the cracks in the walls, he could see the faint flicker of candles, creating dancing shadows that seemed to tell a story of resilience and unbreakable love. My God, what have I done? Mr. Tan murmured, burying his face in his hands. For weeks, he had been planning to dismiss MDM. Devi. He had considered pressing charges for theft. He had allowed distrust to poison every interaction with her. And all this time, she had been using those products to create a clean and safe environment for her sick children. He then remembered all the times he had seen MDM. Devi working late, always with a dedication that he had found admirable, but which he now understood completely. Every extra minute she spent in. Suddenly, he heard voices coming from inside the unit. It sounded like some kind of crisis was developing. Mr. Tan silently got out of the car and approached the window again, his heart pounding with a mixture of concern and curiosity. Mama, Kiran can't breathe well, he heard a little girl's voice say, filled with panic. He's turning very blue and making strange noises when he tries to take a breath. Mr. Tan saw MDM, Devi moving frantically inside the room, holding the smallest child while trying to calm him. The scene unfolding before his eyes was heartbreaking. A desperate mother trying to save her child with extremely limited resources. Arjun, bring the vaporizer we made with the pot, MDM. Devi ordered, her vo. Mr. Tan watched, fascinated, as this family improvised medical solutions with basic elements. Arjun, the eldest son, moved a pot of hot water close to the little boy, creating a homemade vaporizer while his sister held the baby's head. Their coordination spoke of a routine established by necessity, of siblings who had learned to care for each other in impossible circumstances. Why does Kiran get sick so much, Mama? Priya asked with that brutal honesty that only children possess. Is it because we live here? Is it because we don't have air conditioning like my school friends' houses? The silence that followed was more eloquent than any answer. Mr. Tan saw MDM. Devi struggled te. My love MDM. Devi finally responded, her voice breaking. Sometimes life gives us very difficult tests, but the important thing is that we have each other, and Mama will do everything possible to make sure you are well. Papa is watching over us from heaven, and he wants us to be strong. Mr. Tan felt tears begin to roll down his cheeks. The strength of this woman, her ability to maintain hope in such desperate circumstances, moved him in a way he had never experienced. All his life, he had been surrounded by luxury, by comforts, by immediate solutions to any problem. He had never faced the reality of having to choose between buying Mama, Arjun said with a maturity that broke his heart. Tomorrow, I'm not going to school. I'll stay home to take care of Kiran and Priya while you work. Besides, I heard that at the central market, they need helpers to load boxes. Can I earn some extra money? No, my dear, MDM. Devi replied firmly, though her voice trembled with emotion. Your education is the most important thing. It's the only way you can someday have a life different from mine. I won't allow you to sacrifice your future for our current situation. But Mama, we need the money, Arjun insisted. And besides, if Kiran gets worse, someone has to be here to take him to the public hospital. You can't miss work because we need that salary. Mr. Tan realized he was witnessing a conversation that constantly repeated itself in that fa. Listen to me carefully, Mindiem, Devi said, pulling her 3 children into a collective hug that Mr. Tan could clearly see through the window. I know the situation is very difficult right now. I know you're cold, that Kiran is sick, that sometimes there isn't enough food, but I promise you this will change. Mama is working very hard to get a better place to live. Really, Mama? Priya asked with those bright eyes full of childlike hope. We're going to have a house with air conditioning, and Kiran will be able to breathe better? Yes, my love, Midiem. Devi replied. Alt. It was then that he heard something that completely changed his perspective on the entire situation. Arjun, MDM, Devi said softly, believing the younger children couldn't hear. I need you to know something important. The work at Mr. Tan's company. Lately I've had to take some things from the office. Cleaning products, disinfectants. Suddenly, Kiran began to cough violently, a wet and worrisome sound that caused the entire family. Mama, I don't care what they say, Arjun insisted. If Kiran suffers because we don't take him to the hospital, I'll never forgive myself, and neither will you. Those words were like a dagger to Mr. Tan. A 1-2-year-old boy was facing the real possibility of losing his younger brother due to lack of medical resources. He was watching a family tear itself apart between love, fear, and desperation. Mediem. Devi finally made a decision that demonstrated. It was at that moment that Mr. Tan Kian Seng made the most important decision of his life. He couldn't stand there, watching as a passive spectator, while this family struggled to survive. He couldn't return to his warm and comfortable mansion, knowing the Singapore General Hospital, SGH, seemed like a labyrinth of despair under the flickering fluorescent lights. Mr. Tan arrived just minutes after MDM. Devi's family, parking his Mercedes in an area where it definitely stood out among the dilapidated vehicles and ambulances constantly The nurse, whose badge identified her as Hania binti Hamid, looked at the child with a professional but compassionate expression. However, her next words were like daggers to anyone who heard them. Madam, I see your son indeed needs Imid. Mama, give her the papers she wants, Arjun whispered, trying to be the responsible older brother that circumstances had forced him to become. I can take care of Priya while you fill out everything. But when Madiem, Devi began to complete the forms, the cruel reality of her situation became evident. She froze at the address box. What could she write? Abandoned shophouse unit with no number in the industrial estate? Wouldn't that raise suspicions about her ability to care for her children? Madam, I need a valid address, Nurse Hania insisted, noticing MDM. Devi's hesitation. It's required information for the medical record. It's just that we're in the process of moving, MDM. Devi lied, her hands trembling as she held the pen. Temp. It was then that Kiran suddenly suffered a crisis. My baby, something is happening to my baby. My DM, Devi cried as the small child, Kiran, suddenly worsened and the entire room froze. The convulsions were terrifying to witness. Kiran's tin. Mama, don't cry, Priya told her, with that innocent wisdom of children who have seen too much suffering. Kiran is very strong. Remember Papa always said, our family has warrior blood. Kiran will be fine because he has your strength. The 8-year-old girl's words revealed something fundamental about this family. They had lost their patriarch, but his legacy of strength lived on in each of its members. The father of these children had clearly been an important figure who had taught them values of resilience and family unity. "How did Papa die, Mama?" Arjun asked with a broken voice, taking advantage of this vulnerab. Mr. Tan felt his blood run cold. This family had not only lost their main provider, but they had been victims of corporate negligence. A company had prioritized profits over human life, and when the consequences of that decision proved fatal, they had blamed the victim. "That's why we couldn't stay in our old house?" Arjun asked, connecting the dots with that precocious intelligence that children who grow up in adversity develop. "Exactly, my son, MDM," Devi replied. "Without Papa's salary, we couldn't pay the rent. The owner evicted us after 2 months of arrears. We lost ever." "But Mama," Priya said with that unbreakable hope of childhood, "you always say that Papa is watching over us from heaven. Do you think he's helping Kiran right now?" "Of course he is, my love, MDM," Devi responded, finding strength in the faith that had held her family together. "Papa would never abandon us. He's talking to the doctors right now, telling them exactly how to—" "Devi family?" the doctor asked, consulting his clipboard. "Yes, I'm the mother, MDM," Devi replied, standing up immediately. "How is my son? Will he be okay?" "Your son Kiran has a severe respiratory infection, complicated by malnutrition and prolonged exposure to adverse environmental conditions," the doctor explained with medical terminology that sounded terrifying to untrained ears. "The convulsions were caused by lack of oxygen due to the obstruction of his airways." "What does that mean in simple words, doctor?" Arjun asked, again assuming the adult role that didn't belong to his 12 years. "It means that your little brother is very sick because he has been breathing polluted air and has not received adequate nutrition to keep his immune system strong," the doctor explained, demonstrating an empathy that contrasted with the bureaucratic coldness of other hospital staff. "He needs immediate hospitalization, intravenous antibiotic treatment, and intensive care for at least a week." The silence that followed was more eloquent than any scream. Mr. Tan watched as MDM, Devi, slowly processed the implications of those words. Hospitalization meant expenses she could never cover. Intensive treatment meant she would have to miss work, losing the only income that kept her family alive. "Dr. Mdem," Devi said with a trembling voice, "how much will all that cost?" "Madam, at this moment, the important thing is to save your son's life," the doctor replied, skillfully evading the financial question. "The economic aspects can be discussed later with the billing department." But MDM. Devi had experienced enough poverty to understand that discussing later meant accumulating an impossible debt to pay. It meant that for years, she would be paying medical bills that would keep her in absolute misery. "Is there a less expensive alternative?" she asked, with the desperation of a mother drowning in a sea of impossibilities. "Something I can do at home? I know how to care for sick children. I've been doing it for months." MDM. "Devi," the doctor said firmly but with understanding, "your son needs medical equipment that we only have here at the hospital. If you try to treat him at home, there is a very high probability that he will not survive. Are you willing to take that risk?" The question hung in the air like an emotional guillotine. Mr. Tan watched as Madam. Devi struggled internally between unconditional love for her son and the crushing reality of her economic situation. It was the cruelest decision any mother could face. Go into debt for life to save her son, or risk losing him due to lack of resources. It was then that Mr. Tan Kian Seng made the decision that would change not only the life of the Devi family, but also his own existence. He stepped out of the shadows where he had been observing and approached the group directly. "Excuse me, doctor," he said, with that natural authority granted by money and power. "I am Mr. Tan Kian Seng, and I will cover all of Kiran Devi's medical expenses. I want him to receive the best available treatment, regardless of the cost." "Madam." Devi turned towards him with an expression of absolute shock. Her eyes filled with confusion, hope, and terror simultaneously. She couldn't understand why her boss, the man from whom she had been taking cleaning products, was standing in the emergency room of a public hospital, offering to pay for her son's treatment. "Mr. Tan, MDM," Devi stammered. "What? How? Why are you here?" Mr. Tan looked directly into her eyes, and in that gaze, there was a mixture of shame, admiration, and determination that Madam Devi had never seen before. "MDM. Devi," he said, with an emotional voice, "I have come to ask for your forgiveness. The silence in the emergency room became so dense that it seemed even the medical machines had stopped making noise. Medium. Devi looked at Mr. Tan with an expression that combined shock, confusion, and pure terror. Her children instinctively sought refuge behind her, not understanding why their boss had appeared out of nowhere at the most vulnerable moment of their lives. Forgiveness? Medium. Devi repeated, her voice barely audible, as if the words were stuck in her throat. Mr. Tan, I don't understand what's happening. How did you know we were here? Why do you want to help Kiran? Mr. Tan took a deep breath, knowing that the following words would define not only the future of this family, but also the kind of man he would become from that moment on. Nebdiem. Devi, I need to confess something terrible, he began, his voice trembling with genuine emotion. For weeks, I have been investigating you. I believed you were stealing cleaning products from the office. I hired a private investigator. I reviewed the security cameras. I spied on you as if you were a criminal. MDM. Devi's eyes filled with tears as she understood the magnitude of the situation. Her worst nightmare was coming true. She had been discovered. But what devastated her most was not the fear of the consequences, but the shame of her children hearing that their mother had been branded a thief. Mama is not a thief, Arjun declared with that protective fierceness that children develop when they see their parents attacked. My mama is the kindest person in the world. If she took those things, it was because we needed them, so we wouldn't get sicker. I know, son, Mr. Tan replied, addressing Arjun directly, with a respect that surprised everyone present. And you're right, your mama is not a thief. I was an idiot who understood nothing. Are you going to put us in jail? Priya asked, with that heartbreaking innocence of children who have learned too soon that the world can be cruel to the vulnerable. No, my love, Mr. Tan responded, kneeling to be at the girl's eye level. No one is going to jail, and no one is going to hurt your family ever again. The doctor, who had been listening to this entire conversation, cleared his throat discreetly. Excuse me, but I need to know if you are going to authorize immediate treatment for Kiran. The child needs to be transferred to intensive care right now. Authorize everything, Mr. Tan ordered, without hesitation. The best available treatment, the best room, the best specialists. Money is not an issue. Mr. Tan, MDM. Devi interrupted, finding her voice despite the overwhelming situation. I cannot allow you to do this. I have no way to pay you back. With my cleaning employee's salary, it would take me a lifetime to return that money. Medium. Devi, Mr. Tan said, standing up and looking directly into her eyes. After what I have discovered tonight, after seeing how you have been living, after understanding why you took those products, the one who should be paying is me. I should be paying for having been so blind, so insensitive, so completely oblivious to the suffering that was happening right under my nose. What do you mean by after what you have discovered? MDM, Devi asked, though a part of her feared the answer. Mr. Tan lowered his gaze, ashamed to have to admit how much he had violated his employee's privacy. I followed you to your place. I saw where you live. I saw how you care for your children. I saw how you use those products I thought you were stealing. MDM. Devi's expression changed from confusion to absolute horror. The idea that her boss had seen the deplorable conditions in which she was raising her children, that he had witnessed her greatest shame, filled her with such deep humiliation that she felt physically ill. You saw the abandoned shophouse unit, she murmured, covering her face with her hands. You saw how we live. You saw that I don't have hot water, that there's no air conditioning, that my children sleep on mattresses on the floor. I saw an extraordinary mother doing the impossible to keep her children alive. Mr. Tan interrupted with a firm and emotional voice. I saw a woman who takes cleaning products, not to sell them, but to disinfect a unit where no one should live, but which she is turning into a safe home for her babies. That's not true. Medium. Devi exploded, her shame transforming into desperation. I am a terrible mother. My children are living like animals because of me. Kiran is here because I couldn't give him a decent home where he could breathe clean air. Don't say that, Arjun shouted, hugging his mother with an intensity that surprised everyone. You are the best mama in the world. Papa always said you were stronger than 100 men put together. Arjun is right, Priya added, joining the family hug. Mama, you give us love every day, you make us feel safe, you teach us to be good. That's more important than having a nice house. Mr. Tan observed this scene of unconditional love and realized that he was witnessing something that he, despite all his wealth, had never experienced. These children did not love their mother despite the poverty. They loved her precisely because she had sacrificed everything, even her dignity, to protect them. MDM. Devi, Mr. Tan said with an emotion he had never allowed others to see. Do you know what moment impacted me the most from everything I saw last night? MDM. Devi looked up, unable to imagine what aspect of her misery had been most memorable for her boss. It was when I heard Kiran asking if Papa was coming back from heaven. Mr. Tan continued, his voice breaking slightly. And then, when I saw you confessing to Arjun that you had taken those things from the office, I saw a woman tortured by guilt, teaching her children that what she was doing was wrong, but that sometimes extreme circumstances force us to compromise our values. Because it's wrong, MDM, Devi murmured. Stealing is wrong, no matter the reason. You weren't stealing. Mr. Tan exclaimed with a passion that surprised even the doctor, who had been listening to the entire conversation with growing fascination. You were taking disinfectant to clean your sick children's home. You were using cleaning products to create the most hygienic environment possible, in impossible conditions. But they didn't belong to me, MDM, Devi insisted, clinging to the moral integrity that had been her guide throughout the crisis. You're right, Mr. Tan admitted. They didn't belong to you, but you know what? They belong to me. And if I had been a better boss, a better human being, I would have seen that one of my most dedicated employees was struggling to survive. I would have noticed that you arrived early and left late, not out of ambition, but out of economic desperation. The doctor finally intervened with renewed urgency. Excuse me, but we really need to transfer Kiran immediately. His oxygen levels are dropping again. Go, doctor, Mr. Tan ordered. Do whatever is necessary. I want medical reports every hour. As a stretcher carried Kiran towards intensive care, MDM. Devi collapsed into a chair, overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of the situation. Her two eldest children huddled beside her, forming that unbreakable family unit that had been their strength during the most difficult months. Mr. Tan, MDM, Devi said after several minutes of silence. There's something you need to know, something about why we ended up living in that abandoned shophouse unit. Mr. Tan sat across from her, preparing to hear more details of a story that had already impacted him deeply. My husband, my children's papa, was named Ravi, MDM. Devi began, her voice acquiring that nostalgic quality people have when speaking of lost loved ones. He was an industrial welder. He worked in the construction of skyscrapers and bridges. He was a good, hard-working man who dreamed of giving his children a better life than he had had. What happened to him? Mr. Tan asked, though he suspected the answer would be painful. He was working on the construction of the new corporate complex, the Lumina Tower, MDM. Devi continued, unaware of the impact those words would have on Mr. Tan. The construction company had decided to save money on safety equipment. The harnesses were in bad condition. The platforms did not comply with regulations, but they pressured the workers to finish quickly. Mr. Tan felt his blood run cold. The Lumina Tower was a project he knew very well. It had been one of his company's most lucrative contracts in recent years. Ravi fell from the 18th floor because the work platform collapsed, MDM. Devi continued, now openly weeping. When I tried to hold the company responsible, they told me it had been his negligence for not checking his equipment properly. They denied me any compensation and threatened to sue me if I kept insisting. What company was it? Mr. Tan asked, though a part of him already knew the answer and desperately hoped to be wrong. Tan Industries Construction Division, MDM, Devi replied. Tan Industries, the same company where I work now, cleaning the offices of the man whose company killed my husband. The silence that followed was so absolute that one could hear the hum of the hospital's fluorescent lights. Mr. Tan felt as if the ground had opened beneath his feet. For years, MDM, Devi had been working for him, cleaning his office, knowing every detail of his professional life, while guarding the most devastating secret possible. Did you know who I was when you applied for the job? Mr. Tan asked, his voice barely audible. Of course I knew, MDM. Devi replied with a calm that contrasted dramatically with the emotional storm in her eyes. I knew exactly who you were. The owner of the company that had killed my husband and then financially destroyed my life. Why? Mr. Tan asked, completely overwhelmed. Why did you come to work for me? Why didn't you confront me? Why didn't you seek revenge? MDM. Devi looked at her two children, who had been listening to this revelation with expressions of growing shock and confusion. Because I needed the job, she replied simply. Because my children needed to eat. Because revenge was not going to bring Ravi back, nor was it going to pay our bills. And because Ravi always taught me that hatred only poisons the one who feels it. But I am responsible for your husband's death, Mr. Tan stammered, tears streaming freely down his face. My company, my decisions about costs, my pressure to deliver projects quickly. Yes, MDM. Devi confirmed with a serenity that was more devastating than any cry of anger. You are responsible, but hating you was not going to feed my children. Working for you, yes. At that moment, Mr. Tan Kian Singh understood that he had been in the presence of a human greatness that he could never achieve, no matter how much money he accumulated or how much power he obtained. This woman had found the strength to work for the man responsible for her tragedy. She had maintained her professionalism and integrity while cleaning the office of the person who had destroyed her family. MDM. Devi, he finally said. There are no words to express how sorry I am. There is no way to compensate for what my negligence caused your family. But I swear by the lives of my own children that I will dedicate the rest of my existence to mending this error. What does that mean exactly? Arjun asked, with that natural distrust that children who have seen adults make promises they don't keep develop. Mr. Tan looked at the 1-2-year-old boy who had assumed adult responsibilities too soon and made the most important decision of his corporate life. It means that your family will never again suffer hardship, he declared, with a determination that surprised even himself. It means you will have a decent home, complete education, guaranteed medical care, and everything your father wanted to give you when he worked on my projects. Why should we trust you? Priya asked, with that direct honesty of children. You already hurt us once. Mr. Tan knelt again to be at the height of the 8-year-old girl who had just asked him the most important question of his life. Why? He replied with an emotional voice. Your family has taught me tonight what it truly means to be human, and because I will never again allow my ignorance to cause so much suffering. The next few hours in the hospital unfolded like an emotional roller coaster that no one in that waiting room would ever forget. Mr. Tan had remained there all morning, cancelling important meetings, ignoring emergency calls from his company, completely absorbed in a reality he had never considered, the suffering of the people who worked for him. Every 30 minutes, nurses came out with updates on Kiran. The small child had been connected to multiple machines, his tiny body fighting an infection that had progressed more than initially thought. The doctors had explained that weeks of living in unsanitary conditions had severely compromised his immune system. Mama, is Kiran going to die? Priya asked with that childlike crudeness that cuts like a knife after seeing another doctor leave with a worried expression. No, my love, MDM, Devi replied. Although Mr. Tan could detect the uncertainty behind those words, Kiran is strong like his papa. He will pull through. Mr. Tan watched as this family faced the possibility of another devastating loss. They had already lost Ravi. They had lost their home, their economic stability, their social dignity. The idea that they could also lose Kiran was simply unbearable to contemplate. Mr. Tan, Arjun suddenly said, breaking the tense silence that had settled in the waiting room. May I ask you a question? Of course, Mr. Tan replied, surprised by the seriousness in the boy's voice. Do you have children? The question hit Mr. Tan like a punch to the stomach. Yes, he had children. 2 teenagers who lived in a mansion, who attended expensive private schools, who had never faced a single real difficulty in their privileged lives. Children who knew him more as a provider of money than as a present father. Yes, he admitted in a low voice. I have 2 children. Marcus is 16, and Chloe is 14. Do they know where you are now? Arjun continued, with that emotional intelligence that children who have seen too much develop. No, Mr. Tan confessed, realizing that he hadn't even thought about contacting his own family to explain his absence. They probably think I'm in a business meeting or traveling for work. As always, Priya repeated with genuine curiosity. Mr. Tan realized that these children, who had tragically lost their father, could not comprehend how someone could have living, healthy children, but choose to be absent from their lives. For them, who valued every family moment as a treasure, the idea of a father who prioritized work over family was completely incomprehensible. My children are used to Papa not being home, Mr. Tan explained, feeling a growing shame as he verbalized this reality. I always thought my responsibility was to earn money to give them everything they needed. Big houses, expensive cars, holidays in Europe. But do you hug them? Priya asked with that simplicity that goes straight to the heart of important things. Hug them? Mr. Tan repeated as if the question were in a foreign language. Yes, the girl insisted. We hug Mama every day, many times a day, especially when she's sad or worried. Do you hug your children when they're sad, mister? Tan remained silent for long minutes, processing a question that revealed a fundamental void in his family life. He couldn't remember the last time he had hugged Marcus or Chloe. Their interactions were limited to questions about school grades, money transfers for expenses, and superficial conversations during scarce family dinners. I don't think I hugged them enough, he finally admitted, his voice breaking slightly. Papa hugged us every day. Arjun shared with a nostalgic smile that momentarily illuminated his tired face. When he came home from work, before anything else happened, he hugged us. He said that his children's hugs were what gave him the strength to work so hard. And on weekends, Priya added, joining the family memories, Papa would invent games with us. He would turn the house into a castle or a spaceship or a jungle. We didn't need expensive toys because Papa made everything fun. Mr. Tan listened to these descriptions and realized that Ravi Devi, an industrial welder with modest income, had been infinitely richer than he was in the only things that truly mattered. He had had the unconditional love of his family. He had built precious memories with his children. He had been the emotional center of his home. Do you know what we miss most about Papa, Midyam? Devi asked, joining the conversation with a soft voice, yet laden with emotion. What? Mister? Tan asked, preparing for another lesson on what it truly meant to be a father. The stories, Midyam. Devi replied with a smile that mixed joy and sadness. Every night, Ravi would invent different stories for the children. Stories where they were the heroes, where they overcame obstacles, where they learned important lessons about being good people. He invented them? Mister, Tan asked, fascinated by a concept he had never considered. Completely, Arjun confirmed. Papa said that the best stories were those that came from the heart, not from books. He would tell us adventures where Kiran was a superhero who could fly, where Priya was a princess who saved kingdoms, where I was an explorer who discovered new worlds. And always, Priya added, with growing enthusiasm, at the end of each story, Papa would tell us that in real life, we were even more special than in the stories, because we were his real children. Mr. Tan felt tears begin to well up again. These children had lost a father who had not only loved them, but had invested time, creativity, and emotional energy in nurturing their imaginations, in making them feel valuable, in building their self-esteem day after day. Have your children ever asked you to tell them stories? Midyam, Devi asked with genuine curiosity. No, Mr. Tan admitted. They've always had televisions in their rooms, video games, computers. I never thought they might want something as simple as their papa telling them a story. Maybe, Arjun suggested with wisdom far beyond his age, they don't know they can ask you. Maybe they're waiting for you to offer. At that precise moment, the head doctor of intensive care appeared in the waiting room. His expression was serious, but not devastating, which immediately captured the attention of everyone present. Devi family, he announced, consulting his clipboard. I have news about Kiran, MDM. Devi stood up so quickly that she almost lost her balance. Her hands trembled as she prepared to hear news that could change everything. How is my baby, doctor? She asked with a trembling voice. Kiran has responded very well to antibiotic treatment, the doctor explained with a reassuring smile. His breathing has stabilized considerably, and blood oxygen levels are returning to normal parameters. The relief that swept over the family was so palpable that Mr. Tan could feel it physically. Midyam. Devi collapsed back into her chair, this time out of pure gratitude, while Arjun and Priya hugged each other, crying with joy. Does that mean he's going to be okay? Priya asked, needing absolute confirmation. It means we have overcome the immediate crisis, the doctor continued. However, Kiran will need to remain hospitalized for at least another week to ensure the infection is completely eliminated, and after discharge, he will require special care at home. What kind of special care? MDM. Devi asked, though Mr. Tan suspected she already intuited where the conversation was heading. Kiran needs to live in an environment completely free of humidity, mold, and air pollution, the doctor explained, with that professional seriousness that indicated no room for negotiation. His lungs have been severely affected by prolonged exposure to inadequate environmental conditions. A relapse could be serious. The silence that followed was devastating. Everyone in that room knew that the abandoned shophouse unit where the Devi family lived did not remotely meet those medical requirements. In fact, it was exactly the kind of environment that could put Kiran at risk if he returned there. Dr. Mr. Tan said, standing up with determination. What kind of housing would be ideal for Kiran's recovery? A house with adequate heating and ventilation systems, no humidity problems, preferably with air purifiers, and definitely no exposure to mold or deteriorated building materials, the doctor replied, basically describing everything opposite to where the family lived. Understood, Mr. Tan said firmly. That won't be a problem. Mr. Tan, mediem, Devi interrupted, immediately understanding the implications of those words. I cannot allow you to do more than you already have. The hospital, the medications, it's already too much. Mdm. Devi Mr. Tan responded, looking directly into her eyes. Your son almost suffered because my corporate negligence killed his father and forced you to live in conditions no human being should ever face. It's not charity I'm offering, it's justice. But a house like the one the doctor describes must cost a fortune, Midiem. Devi protested. I cannot accept something like that from you. Why not? Priya asked, with that simple logic of children. If Mr. Tan has money and we need a house so Kiran doesn't get sick, why can't he help us? Why, my love? Midem. Devi explained patiently. When someone gives you something very big, they can later ask for things in return that perhaps you cannot give. Mr. Tan felt those words hit him like a slap. Devi was right to distrust. In his business world, all favors came with conditions. All help had hidden costs. All generosities were disguised investments. Devi, Mr. Tan said with an emotion he had never allowed others to see in professional contexts. The only thing I want in return is the opportunity to be a better man than I have been until now. The opportunity to honor Ravi's memory by doing for his children what he would have done if I hadn't been so irresponsible with workplace safety. Really? Arjun asked, scrutinizing Mr. Tan's face, with that childlike ability to detect sincerity or falsehood in adults. Really? Mr. Tan confirmed. And I also want to ask you all a favor. What favor? Priya asked, with curiosity. I want you to teach me how to be the kind of father Ravi was, Mr. Tan said, his voice breaking with emotion. I want to learn how to tell stories to my children, how to hug them when they're sad, how to make them feel more important than any business meeting. Seriously? Medium, Devi asked, surprised by a request she could never have anticipated. Seriously, Mr. Tan confirmed. You have lost the best father in the world, but your memories of him can help me become a better father to my own children. That would be the best payment you could give me. For the first time since this long night of revelations had begun, MDM, Devi smiled with genuine hope. I think, she finally said, that Ravi would be very proud to know that his legacy is going to help another family find itself. 3 days after the promise made in the hospital, Mr. Tan Kian Singh stood in front of a beautiful 2-story semi-detached house in the quiet part of Serangoon Gardens, holding the keys in one hand and a purchase contract in the other. It had not been an impulsive decision. He had spent 72 hours meticulously researching every detail to find the perfect home for the Devi family. The house had everything the doctor had specified for Kiran's recovery. A central air conditioning system, air purifiers in every room, large windows that allowed abundant natural light, and most importantly, it had been built just 2 years ago, with materials completely free of humidity and mold. But Mr. Tan had gone beyond the medical requirements. The property had 4 spacious bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, a modern kitchen with new appliances, a backyard where the children could play safely, and was located in an area with excellent public schools. It was exactly the kind of home that Ravi Devi would have dreamed of providing for his family. Are you sure about this, Mr. Tan? Asked Miss Lim Wei Ling, the real estate agent who had handled the express purchase. It's a very generous decision, but also a very costly one. This property is worth more than many people earn in 10 years. I am completely sure, Mr. Tan replied without hesitation. Besides, it's not generosity, it's very belated justice. As he waited for the Devi family to arrive, Mr. Tan reflected on the extraordinary changes that had occurred in his life during those 3 days. He had cancelled important meetings, delegated business decisions that he would normally consider crucial, and for the first time in years, he had put the needs of other people above his own financial ambitions. More importantly, he had had the most honest conversation of his life with his own children. The night before, he had arrived at his mansion before 8 p.m. for the first time in months. Marcus and Chloe were having dinner alone in the main dining room, as was their usual routine, while he typically worked late or attended business events. Papa, Chloe had said, surprised to see him appear so early. Is everything all right at the company? We didn't expect to see you until the weekend. Those words had broken his heart. His own children were surprised to see him home during the week, as if his paternal presence were an extraordinary event that only occurred occasionally. "I need to tell you something very important," he had told them, sitting down with them for the first time in months. "And I need to ask for your forgiveness for the kind of father I've been until now." For the next 2 hours, he had told them the entire story. Medium, Devi, the abandoned shophouse unit, Kiran in the hospital, Ravi's death in one of his construction projects, and the devastating lesson about what it truly meant to be a present father. "Papa," Marcus had said with a maturity that surprised him, "we know you work hard to give us a good life. We've never felt that you don't love us. But," Chloe had added with that direct honesty she inherited from her mother, "we have felt that you don't really know us, as if you know we exist, but you don't know who we are." Those words had been more impactful than any business criticism he had received. His children didn't blame him for working so hard, but they recognized that he had missed the opportunity to know them as individual people, with dreams, fears, unique personalities. "What can we do to change that?" he had asked them, genuinely interested in hearing their ideas. "Well," Chloe had responded after careful thought, "you could start by asking us how our day was when you get home. Not just if we did our homework or got good grades. And maybe," Marcus had added, "you could tell us stories about when you were a child. We never know anything about how you grew up, what you liked to do, how you met Mama." Mr. Tan had promised that all that would change, and had started that very night by telling them about his own childhood, about the mistakes he had made in prioritizing financial success over human relationships, and about how a family in crisis had taught him lessons that no business school could offer. Now, standing in front of the Devi family's new house, Mr. Tan felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement he hadn't experienced since he was a young entrepreneur building his first company. But this time, success would not be measured in economic gains, but in the smile of a mother who could finally give her children a dignified home. The taxi stopped in front of the house exactly at 2 p.m., as they had agreed. Kiran had been discharged from the hospital that same morning, and although he still looked fragile, his cheeks had regained some of the healthy pink color of childhood. MDM. Devi got out of the vehicle first, followed by Arjun, who carefully helped Kiran down, while Priya immediately ran towards the front garden. "Mama, look how beautiful these flowers are," Priya shouted, pointing to the rose bushes decorating the entrance. "And there's a swing on that tree." "Priya, don't touch anything, MDM," Devi warned automatically, with that caution of someone who had learned not to expect too much from life. "This isn't our house. We're here to see it, but we don't know if MDM." "Devi, Mr. Tan interrupted softly, approaching with the keys extended towards her. "This is your house, completely yours." The silence that followed was so profound that one could hear the wind rustling the leaves of the tree, where a swing was indeed installed. "Miam." Devi looked at the keys as if they were magical objects that could disappear if she touched them. "What do you mean by completely ours?" Arjun asked, with that protective distrust he had developed during months of uncertainty. "I mean, Mr. Tan explained, kneeling to be at the height of the 3 children, that the house is completely paid for, that it is registered in your mama's name, and that no one will ever be able to take it away from you." "Is it ours forever?" "Really forever?" Kiran asked with that small voice that still showed signs of his recent illness but shone with cautious hope. "Really forever," Mr. Tan confirmed, feeling his eyes well up with tears as he saw the expression of astonishment on the little boy's face. MDM. Devi finally took the keys with trembling hands. For months, she had dreamed of this moment, but she had never believed it was possible. She had nighttime fantasies where she imagined her children running through a real house, sleeping in real beds, bathing with hot water, but she had always woken up in that abandoned shophouse unit, where reality brutally hit her. "Can we go in and see it inside?" Priya asked, practically jumping with excitement. "Of course," Mr. Tan replied, leading the family towards the main door. "It's your home. You can do whatever you want." When MDM. Devi opened the door, what they found inside exceeded all expectations they could have had. Mr. Tan had not only bought the house, he had completely furnished it with everything necessary for a family with 3 children. In the main living room, there was a comfortable 3-seater sofa, a solid wooden coffee table, a large flat-screen television mounted on the wall, and most importantly, a bookshelf full of children's and young adult books. The kitchen was fully equipped with new appliances, complete dinnerware, and the pantry was stocked with enough food for several weeks. "Mama, there's a staircase," Arjun shouted, running towards the second floor like a normal one too. Year-old boy for the first time in months. "And each room has its own bed," Priya added, who had followed her older brother upstairs, Mr. Tan had paid special attention to the bedrooms. The master bedroom had a queen-size bed with new bedding, a spacious wardrobe, and a dresser with a mirror. The children's rooms were decorated appropriately for their ages. Arjun's had a desk for studying and educational posters. Priya's was painted in soft tones with a single bed decorated with new dolls. And Kiran's had a convertible crib that could transform into a big kid bed along with a special humidifier recommended by the doctors. "Mr. Tan, MDM," Devi said, her voice broken by emotion. "This is too much. It's more than I ever dreamed of giving my children. I don't know how we will ever be able to repay you." "MDM. Devi," Mr. Tan responded, sitting next to her on the new sofa. "Do you remember what you told me at the hospital about why you decided to work for me instead of seeking revenge? Because revenge was not going to feed my children, MDM?" Devi repeated, recalling her own words. "Exactly," Mr. Tan continued. "Well, this house is not revenge for what my company did to Ravi. This house is my way of honoring his memory, ensuring that his children have the opportunities he wanted to give them." "Mama, come see my room," Kiran shouted from upstairs, his voice filled with a joy they hadn't heard in months. When they went upstairs to the second floor, they found the three children exploring their new rooms with expressions of pure wonder. Kiran had discovered that his bed had side rails to prevent falls, but could also be removed when he was older. Priya was hugging a new doll she had found on her bed. Arjun was looking through the books on his desk, books appropriate for his age and educational level. "Can I really keep all these books?" Arjun asked, holding an encyclopedia of natural sciences. "They're yours," Mr. Tan confirmed, "and there are more books downstairs in the family library. I thought you might like to read stories to your siblings, like your papa used to do." Arjun's eyes filled with tears. For months, he had taken on adult responsibilities out of necessity, but now he was being offered the opportunity to be an older brother in normal circumstances, to care for Kiran and Priya out of love, instead of desperation. "Mr. Tan," Arjun said with a seriousness that moved him, "may I ask you something?" "Of course. Do your children know what you are doing for us?" The question surprised Mr. Tan because it revealed that Arjun had been thinking not only about his own family, but also about how these actions could affect other people. "Yes," Mr. Tan replied. "I told them your entire story, and they know that you have taught me very important lessons about what it means to be a family." "What kind of lessons?" Priya asked, joining the conversation with that natural curiosity of children. "You taught me that hugging your children is more important than buying them expensive things," Mr. Tan explained. "You taught me that telling stories at home is more valuable than working late. You taught me that knowing my children's dreams is more important than making more money. Are you going to start hugging your children more?" Kiran asked, with that direct innocence that only small children possess. "I already started, Mr. Tan confirmed with a genuine smile. "Last night, I hugged Marcus and Chloe for the first time in months. And do you know what I discovered?" "What?" the three children asked in unison. "That they also needed those hugs, but didn't know how to ask me for them." MDM. Devi, who had been listening to this conversation while exploring the master bathroom with its new shower and hot water, approached the group with tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mr. Tan," she said with a voice laden with emotion, "Ravi would be very proud to know that his story is helping another family find itself." "Do you really believe that?" Mr. Tan asked, genuinely needing that confirmation. "Completely, MDM." Devi replied without hesitation. "Ravi always said that tragedies only made sense if we turned them into opportunities to make the world a little better." "Mama," Priya suddenly said, "can we invite Mr. Tan and his children to dinner here someday so we can get to know them and maybe teach them some of the games Papa taught us?" The suggestion took Mr. Tan completely by surprise. These children, who had lost so much, who had suffered so much from his company's negligence, were now offering to share their new happiness with his family. It was a level of generosity and forgiveness that deeply moved him. "I'd love to, Mr. Tan responded. "And I'm sure Marcus and Chloe would love to meet you too. Can we show them how Papa taught us to make plays?" Priya exclaimed with growing enthusiasm. "And Arjun can tell them some of the stories Papa used to invent for us. And Kiran can teach him his favorite songs," Arjun added, holding his younger brother with that protective tenderness he had developed during the difficult months. Mr. Tan observed this spontaneous planning of a family gathering and realized that he was witnessing something extraordinary. These children were not thinking in terms of us versus them or poor versus rich. They were thinking simply in terms of families who can help each other to be happier. "There's one more thing I want to show you," Mr. Tan said, leading the family towards the master bedroom window overlooking the backyard. In the yard, there was something that had taken days of special planning. A small, raised garden bed with fertile soil, gardening tools appropriate for children, and seeds for vegetables and herbs that the family could grow together. Ravi always wanted to teach his children to grow their own food, Mr. Tan explained. Nebiem. Devi told me at the hospital that he talked about having a garden where they could learn where real food comes from. Papa told you that? Arjun asked, surprised that Mr. Tan knew such intimate details about his father's dreams. Your mama told me, Mr. Tan clarified, and I thought maybe you could teach me too. I've never planted anything in my life. Yes, Kiran shouted, clapping his small hands that now looked stronger after the medical treatment. We can plant tomatoes and lettuce and carrots and pretty flowers for Mama, Priya added, always thinking of making her mother happy. MDM. Devi approached the window and looked at the garden with an expression that mixed gratitude, astonishment, and a deep melancholy. It was exactly what Ravi had dreamed of for his family. And although he was not physically present to see it, his spirit and values were completely alive at this moment. Ravi, she murmured softly, speaking to her deceased husband as if he could hear her. Our babies finally have the home you wanted to give them. Mr. Tan realized that he was witnessing a sacred moment, an instant where love transcends death and where postponed dreams finally find fulfillment. It wasn't just a house he was delivering. It was the materialization of the hopes of a father who had died too soon, but whose legacy would continue to live on in his children. MDM, Devi, Mr. Tan said. Finally, there is one condition for this house. The instant panic that appeared in the woman's eyes broke his heart, but it was necessary to establish this specific condition. What condition? She asked with a trembling voice. That you allow me to change all the workplace safety policies at Tan Industries, Mr. Tan responded with absolute seriousness. That you help me implement protocols that guarantee no other worker suffers what Ravi suffered. That you turn your husband's tragedy into the salvation of other workers. MDM. Devi looked at him for long seconds, processing the magnitude of what he was proposing. Are you serious? She finally asked. Completely serious, Mr. Tan confirmed. I want Ravi Devi to become the name of the strictest workplace safety program in the entire construction industry, for the first time since the loss of her husband, MDM. Devi felt that the tragedy that had destroyed her life would finally have a purpose that would honor Ravi's memory in the most significant way possible. I accept, she said with a firm voice. I accept with all my heart. The first family dinner between the Tan and Devi families took place a week after the house handover. Mr. Tan arrived at 6 p.m. with Marcus and Chloe, bringing flowers for MDM, Devi, and educational toys for the 3 children. His children had been nervous all day, not knowing what to expect from this family that had so profoundly transformed their father. The house, once an impossible dream, now overflowed with life and human warmth. The aroma of home-cooked food mixed with the sound of children's laughter, creating that atmosphere of a true home that no mansion could replicate. Kiran had improved remarkably. His cheeks had a healthy color, and his breathing was clear and strong. Papa, Chloe whispered as they walked towards the front door. Are you nervous? A little, Mr. Tan admitted with honesty, but it's a good kind of nervousness, like when you're about to experience something special. Devi opened the door with a radiant smile that contrasted dramatically with the desperate woman Mr. Tan had seen in the hospital weeks ago. She wore a simple but clean dress, and there was something in her posture that spoke of recovered dignity. Welcome to our home, she said with a genuine warmth that immediately put Marcus and Chloe at ease. The first few minutes were inevitably awkward. Marcus and Chloe, accustomed to formal dinners served by domestic staff, found themselves in a kitchen where the family itself prepared the food and where everyone was expected to participate in setting the table. Do you need help with anything? Marcus asked, not knowing exactly how to offer assistance in an environment so different from his usual experience. Of course, Arjun replied with enthusiasm. Can you help me carry the plates to the table? In our family, everyone helps with everything. Chloe watched, fascinated, as Priya helped Kiran wash his hands before eating, as Arjun checked that everything was ready, as MDM. Devi coordinated the activities with an efficiency born of love rather than rigidity. It was a completely new type of family dynamic for her. The dinner consisted of simple dishes, but prepared with care. Chicken curry, rice, dal, fresh salad from the garden they had begun to cultivate, and homemade roti. There was nothing luxurious, but every bite had a flavor that spoke of time invested, of attention paid, of food prepared as an act of love. In our family, Neblim, Devi explained as she served the plates, we have a tradition for dinners. Each person shares something good that happened to them during the day and something they are grateful for. Something good and something to be grateful for? Chloe repeated, as if it were a completely foreign concept. Yes, Kiran confirmed, with that contagious joy of small children. I always start, because I'm the smallest. Something good that happened to me today was that I could run in the garden without getting tired, and I'm grateful because my chest doesn't hurt when I breathe anymore. The simplicity and depth of those words impacted Marcus and Chloe. This 5-year-old child, who had been on the brink of severe illness weeks ago, found joy in being able to breathe normally and run without pain. Their own daily concerns about grades, video games, and social plans seemed trivial in comparison. I'm next, Priya announced. Something good that happened to me was that I found a butterfly in our garden, and it stayed on my finger for a long time. And I'm grateful because I have my own room where I can keep all my treasures. What kind of treasures? Chloe asked, with genuine curiosity. Pretty stones I find in the garden, leaves with interesting shapes, drawings I make for Mama, Priya explained seriously. Papa always said that the most valuable treasures don't cost money. Arjun continued. Something good that happened to me was that I completely understood my math homework without help, and I'm grateful because I can study at my own desk without distracting noises. MDM. Devi smiled with maternal pride before speaking. Something good that happened to me today was seeing Kiran playing happily in the garden, and I'm grateful because my children have a safe home where they can grow and dream. Everyone turned towards Mr. Tan, Marcus, and Chloe. It was their turn to participate in this family tradition, but none of them had ever reflected on their day in such an intentional way. We've never done this before, Mr. Tan admitted with honesty, but I want to try. Something good that happened to me today was seeing Kiran smile when he ran to the door to greet us. And I'm grateful because you are teaching me how to be a better father. Marcus hesitated before speaking. Something good. I think something good that happened to me was meeting Arjun and realizing that there are people my age who are much more mature and responsible than I am. And I'm grateful because Papa is learning to spend more time with us. Chloe was last. Something good that happened to me was seeing how Priya takes care of Kiran. It made me think about how I can be a better older sister. And I'm grateful because this family is showing me what it really means to love each other. The silence that followed was full of warmth and connection. It was evident that something fundamental had begun to change in the dynamic of both families. Now, Arjun announced with enthusiasm, "It's story time." During the next hour, the Devi children shared the stories Ravi used to tell them, but with a special twist. They invited Marcus and Chloe to be characters in the adventures. Priya invented a story where Chloe was a scientific princess who saved kingdoms with her experiments. Arjun created an adventure where Marcus was an explorer who discovered lost civilizations. Kiran, with the help of his siblings, told a story where everyone was a superhero working together to make the world better. Mr. Tan observed this interaction and realized that his children were experiencing something they had never had. The pure joy of shared imagination, of creating fantastic worlds with other children, of being valued not for what they possessed, but for who they were as people. Papa, Chloe asked when the stories ended. Could we do this at home too? The dinners with gratitude and the stories? I'd love to, Mr. Tan replied, feeling more connected to his children than he had been in years. As the night progressed, the conversation grew deeper. Med-DM. Devi told Marcus and Chloe about Ravi, not as a tragic figure, but as a loving father who had filled their lives with joy and valuable lessons. What do you miss most about him? Marcus asked with genuine curiosity. His laugh, Kiran replied immediately. Papa laughed very loudly when we played, and the whole house filled with happiness. His bear hugs, Priya added. He hugged us so tightly that we felt nothing bad could happen to us while we were in his arms. His advice, Arjun said with the seriousness of someone who had had to grow up too fast. He always knew exactly what to tell us when we had problems, or when we were confused. But do you know what's most incredible? MDM, Devi added with a smile full of love. All those things we miss about Papa are still alive in you all. Kiran has his joyful laugh. Priya gives hugs that heal the heart. And Arjun has that special wisdom to help others. Really? Kiran asked with bright eyes. Completely true, his mother confirmed. Papa lives through you every day. This conversation had a profound impact on Marcus and Chloe. They realized that they had been taking their father's presence for granted, not appreciating the opportunities to create meaningful memories and connections while it was still possible. Papa, Marcus said later that night during the drive home. Could we start doing things together on weekends? Not expensive things, but things like Arjun's papa used to do with them. What kind of things do you have in mind? Mr. Tan asked, excited by this initiative from his son. Maybe we could learn to cook together, Chloe suggested, or do projects in the garden, or just sit and talk without the television or phones. That sounds perfect, Mr. Tan replied, feeling his heart fill with a happiness that no business success had been able to provide him. 3 weeks later, Mr. Tan was in his office, but this time, not working late. It was Friday afternoon, and he had established a new personal policy. No more work after 5 p.m. on Fridays, and weekends were sacred for family. MDM. Devi had begun working as a workplace safety consultant for Tan Industries, helping to design protocols that would protect other workers from tragedies like the one Ravi had suffered. Her intimate knowledge of the human consequences of corporate negligence had made her a powerful voice for change. Mr. Tan, MDM. Devi said, entering his office with a folder full of documents. I have the final report on the new safety measures for the Ravi Devi safety program. Over the past few weeks, they had worked together to implement the strictest workplace safety standards in the industry. Highest quality protective equipment, mandatory daily inspections, comprehensive training for all workers, and an emergency fund for the families of any employee injured at work. What are the results, Mr. Tan asked, though he already knew the answer from the weekly reports. 0 workplace accidents across all our constructions during the last 3 weeks, MDM. Devi reported with evident pride. Workers say they feel safer and more valued than ever before. Oh, and the financial impact? The initial costs were significant, MDM, Devi admitted. But the savings in insurance, legal claims, and lost time due to accidents are already offsetting the investment. Furthermore, our reputation as a responsible company is attracting better workers and more prestigious contracts. Mr. Tan smiled, remembering how he used to think that workplace safety was an unnecessary expense that reduced profits. Now he understood that it was an investment in human lives that also turned out to be an excellent business decision. MDM. Devi, he said, closing the folder. May I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you ever feel that Ravi would be proud of what we have achieved? MDM. Devi smiled with that serenity she had developed during months of healing. Every day, especially when I see other workers return safe and sound to their families, knowing that their children will not go through what mine did. And your children? How are they adapting to all the changes? Kiran is completely healthy. The doctors say there are no traces of the respiratory infection, MDM. Devi reported with maternal joy. Priya is flourishing in her new school. Her teachers say she is a bright and compassionate child. And Arjun? What about Arjun? Arjun surprises me every day, MDM. Devi continued with pride. He has started talking about studying civil engineering when he grows up. He wants to design buildings that are completely safe for all workers. Seriously. He says he wants to continue the work his papa started, and that you are helping to finish, MDM. Devi explained. He wants the name Devi to be synonymous with safe construction. Mr. Tan felt his eyes well up with tears. Ravi's son had not only overcome the tragedy, but was transforming it into inspiration, to dedicate his life to protecting others. Number. Devi. Mr. Tan finally said, I want to make you a proposal. What kind of proposal? I want to establish a university scholarship fund in the name of Ravi Devi, Mr. Tan explained with growing enthusiasm, for children of construction workers who want to study engineering, architecture, or any career related to making the industry safer. Are you serious? Completely serious. And I want you to administer that fund, Mr. Tan continued. Who better than Ravi's widow to decide which young people deserve the opportunity to turn tragedies into solutions? MDM. Devi was speechless for several minutes, processing the magnitude of what Mr. Tan was proposing. Do you know what this means? She finally asked. It means that Ravi Devi will become a force for good that transcends his own death, Mr. Tan replied. It means his legacy will save lives for generations. I accept, MDM, Devi said with a firm and emotional voice. I accept with all my heart and in Ravi's name. That same night, in the house that now overflowed with life and happiness, the two families met again for dinner. But this time, there was an additional tradition. At the end of the dinner, they lit a special candle in honor of Ravi Devi. Papa, Priya said, addressing the candle as if Ravi could hear her. Today, Mr. Tan told us about the scholarships that will help other children study to do safer jobs. Are you proud of us? At that moment, as if the universe wanted to answer the girl's question, a gentle breeze moved the window curtains, causing the candle flame to dance in a special way. "Papa is here," Kiran whispered with that absolute certainty of small children. "He's telling us he's proud." Mr. Tan observed this scene and realized that he had witnessed the most extraordinary transformation of his life. A tragedy had been turned into redemption, an injustice had been transformed into justice, and a death had given life to a legacy that would protect countless future families. "Do you know what's most incredible about this whole story?" Mr. Tan said, looking at all the children present. "What?" they asked in unison. "That Ravi Devi will never be just a name on a tombstone," Mr. Tan explained with deep emotion. "He will be the name on university scholarships that help young people study. He will be the name in safety protocols that save lives. He will be the name that other workers remember when they return safely to their homes every night. And he will be the name that we carry with pride forever," Arjun added, with that maturity he had developed through adversity, transformed into purpose. "Exactly," Mr. Tan confirmed. "Ravi Devi has become immortal, not because he is physically with us, but because his love, his values, and his sacrifice continue to make the world better every day." At that moment, with two families united around a table, with a candle honoring the memory of a good man, and with the future shining with promises of saved lives and fulfilled dreams, everyone understood that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Ravi Devi's death had been a tragedy, but his legacy had become the most beautiful story of redemption, love, and hope that any of them could have imagined. And every time a worker returned safely home, every time a young person received a scholarship to study, every time a family did not have to suffer what the Devi family suffered, Ravi Devi would continue to live. Because true love never dies. It only transforms into increasingly beautiful ways of making the world better.